Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name's Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Patton.
And on today's podcast, I'll be talking with Matthew Tyrrell and Thomas Aiden James about the Alacrity Doctor Adventures, Volume 1, The Doctor of War.
Oh, that sounds interesting, sir. And then later on the podcast, we'll be talking about the 2025 releases.
Oh, indeed. Now, before we get started, thank you to our Patreons, Anya Patton, Chelsea Lagan, and Delta Effects, who is in fact Matt Tyrrell himself. So, thank you very much to you three for continuing to support the Patreon. I still need, it's been 3 months of you telling me to share it. I still haven't. I need to.
Oh, Channers.
I need to. But nonetheless, how have you been, sir?
It's been a bit of a roller coaster a month. I'm pretty sure everyone has been feeling the effects of what's been going on with the country lately. But it's been a bit of an up and down month. But overall, I'm feeling a bit positive. But how about yourself, sir? How has this month been treating you?
Oh, it's been all right. I've not really had the chance to be too creative as much as I'd like to have been. But I've been keeping busy as best I can. In fact, today I finished the edit for the November monthly vlog. We talked about the monthly vlog last month, but now it's official that I've only got one more vlog left.
Oof.
And then that's the monthly vlog.
What's that saying? Can you do me a favor, sir? Because I just realized something about your monthly vlog that is disgraceful. Right, I want you to start recording for your vlog right now. Do you have your phone with you?
Okay, hang on. I'll just get my phone. Right, hang on. I have it now. Yes, do you want me to film?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to take my headphones out,
Okay, no worries.
Right. Sorry, everyone, for interrupting the podcast, but we're here now. Right.
It's fine. This is necessary. This is necessary. If you watch the vlog with this here, it'll make complete sense.
Okay, hang on. I am recording for the Overton Audios podcast. Daniel, you said you had something to say.
Yes, because I have not appeared in the 2024 vlogs, and because it's ending soon, I had to get one more appearance in the vlog series before it ends. So this is my obligatory appearance for the vlogs before the end.
Oh dear.
If you watch the vlogs next to this podcast, that'll be definitely a treat for you.
Indeed. Oh Lord, right, okay, there you go. I have no idea if my audio will echo back now. But
you're good so far. Yeah, I can't hear anything. And
good. Maybe I never need to put my headphones in the first place. But yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. the last podcast of the year, Daniel, 2024.
It's hard to believe we're halfway through this decade as the start of the next podcast.
4 months from now, it will be 5 years since the podcast started.
5 years, blimey! It has been a journey, my friend. And think. Like the year after will then be the 10-year anniversary of Overton Audios, won't it?
2026, yeah. It's up for debate as to when Overton Audio started, because it didn't really start what you might call regular programming until the end of 2018. That's when it started the weekly releases non-stop.
Yeah, because you started Resurrection just as a non-name brand sort of thing, where it was just you doing it rather than it be a part of like a it was just the Doctor Who fan audio series you were doing. It was
literally just a YouTube channel called Doctor Who fan series.
Yeah. But I think there was a complication of that channel. You opened up Overton Audios a year or two after that.
Yeah. It was complications around the end of 2017. The YouTube channel got hit with copyright. It's always me because I see all these other, like, not that I'm bashing other creators, far from it. I see so many people use the same music I do for some of my audios. They never get hit with anything, but I'm the one who gets taken down. And I'm like, oh come on. I've been very lucky with Overton Audios that we've obviously worked with great composers like Anthony Tremaine, obviously Connor J. Sumner. We've worked with Jed T. Rhodes. This is why I have playlists. Because otherwise I forget them. I'm gonna have a quick look now. Who haven't I mentioned?
The OA composers are just brilliant.
David Bosket, James Jarvis, who's Salem Sound. We've obviously had James York. We've done some with where we've been given permission to use music made by Peter Miles, who used to be known as Dilechium on YouTube.
Hmm.
And then we've also got the restoration of Doctor Who, who ended up making a Doctor Who theme that we've used as the Young Doctor's theme.
Yeah.
The only condition they've had is that obviously if you use it, you credit. I always like to keep a playlist of people's music, even if they've put it up there for free.
Yeah, it's
They want a YouTube credit, of course, but I'm gonna credit them if I've used it, no matter what, you know?
exactly, sir. So yeah, essentially thanks to those people for keeping Overton Audios afloat.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed.
But yeah, it's just as I was saying before, the time has just been breakneck speed, my friend.
Mm.
Breakneck speed.
Oh, well, yeah, 100%,
Uh,
100%. It's I don't know where the time has gone half the time. Like, I because without getting too much into it, I think I might have mentioned it in the January podcast, but I've had an issue where since around 2020, I used to have, or occasionally it flares up, a sebaceous cyst on the back of my neck.
you told me about this before, sir, and
Mm.
it's
But I don't know if you know this, Dan. Actually, I've had one grow on my chest,
oh, sir.
right in the middle of my chest. Every time I breathe, it hurts, and I've had that for the last few weeks. But I was given the same medication that I had for the back of the neck one. But what's been really intriguing to me, and TMI, is been watching what happens to it because like I've had one in the back of my neck that flares up once a year or sometimes once every 2 years if I'm lucky for the last 5 years. And I've never seen what happens to it. I can only feel it and I can't turn my head. Whereas with my chest,
You can see it.
I can see what's happening to it in real time and how it changes shape and all that stuff. And obviously, God, I can't, I don't think, did I tell you the story I had with the NHS?
Did you tell me this before?
Yeah. Like the one that I've only had it in the last week or so.
All right,
It,
so I don't think you told me the most recent one.
like, firstly, I'm going to say this. When I moan about this, I'm not moaning at the NHS. They are criminally underfunded, which is why this has happened. Basically, I went to call up my local surgery about this.
Yeah.
Was on the waiting. I was waiting for them on this queue, listening to this loud screeching music for an hour and a half. They finally got to me, and I said I'd like to book an appointment. They said, "Oh, we don't take appointments via the phone anymore. You have to do it on an online form. You just go on the web, go on this website and do it." And I'm like sat here going, "Can you?" I said to her, "Can you please just do it anyway, please?" I've been on the phone for 90 minutes, and she went, "Sorry, no." So I then went and sorted out the online form. And then the next day, I was having to travel. I was having to travel up north to Birmingham for some
Mhm.
work, and I put down contact me whenever I will be free on Thursday.
Yeah.
They then contact me at 8:30 in the morning to tell me that my appointment is at 10:20 that morning, and I'm sat there on a train, what, half an hour away from Birmingham, and I'm like, well, I'm not making that. So I call them back because I can't find my. I was never sent a receipt of an online form. So I have to
Yeah.
call them back, and I sit there for 45 minutes on the phone again. And then they come up, then they answer and go, can I please change my appointment time?" And they went, "No." And I'm like, Right, so what do I do then? Because I can't make that time." They said, "Oh, right, you'll have to submit another form." I said, "Right, okay. Where, what about this current appointment?" And she went, "Oh, well, we can cancel it." And I'm just sat there going, "So you can cancel it, but you can't change it or book one."
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, and I'm just sat there going, this is what management and organization is like in the 21st century now. Like the receptionists were there to do those things, and I'm like, we're no longer going to have receptionists one day.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. And it's taken me like human elements. There's this because especially for the healthcare service where you need the human
Yeah.
element, where it needs
Mm.
need that sympathy
Well,
from someone to
that's
understand
why I
things.
mentioned it's underfunded because they're moving away from having to pay people. to just creating machines. And what if the system goes wrong and there's we saw this a few months ago with when what was it? The system, a lot of cyber systems went down for about a day or so, or a few hours.
Yeah,
Um,
that caused havoc mainly as well. With that did cause havoc with NHS and us
well,
mainly as well.
because obviously, working in construction, our systems went down as well.
Yeah, and that paused everything for us as well.
Yeah, like it went really. Oh. Um, what if that happens again? Nobody can book appointments. But
Yeah.
the problem is that I'm sure I've heard someone say this before. I'm probably just echoing somebody else, which is at the moment because there's too many people to manage. People just keep pushing people to the side and pushing them into one place. Like they were saying to me, if you can't book an appointment, just go to the A&E. And I'm going, but I know what I need because I've had this for 5 years. Just look at my file and re-prescribe me the same thing, please. And then they wanted to see me in person, so I was like, I can't do this until this day. I did the other form and said, you can contact me via text, but I'm on a site with no signal. So what do you think they do?
What did you do, sir?
They text me, which is fine, saying, prepare for a telephone consultation.
All
And
right.
I just told you I can't, I've got no signal. So I happen to be very lucky. I'm walking past a door as my phone goes off. And I'm on the phone talking to this woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly somebody starts drilling behind me.
Oh, goodness
And they're like,
sake.
can you go somewhere quiet? And I said, I can't. This is you've caught me in the one place where I have signal. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, I can't really hear. And I went, just wait a second. I just said, and I just turned and the guy was walking off anyway. I said, carry on. And then as we sorted all this out, and she said, look, here's the prescription. Go and get it from your local Boots today. And I said, I can't do it today. I won't. I'm in Birmingham at the moment. She then said, "Well, why don't you work more locally?" And I went, "I don't. What's this? What is this?" Like I'm saying, going, "Am I being like I've had it's taken like two or three tries to try and get an appointment, and now the person who's prescribing me medication is criticizing me for my employment."
Uh,
I'm like going, "Sorry, but this is my job. Like I don't like the travel, but I go where the work is."
yeah,
And
exactly.
And as she's leaving, she goes, "You might want to reconsider your employment." And I'm sat there going, "Why? Why are
This
these?"
is health service, not the
I'm just,
consultation of your career
yeah,
service.
no, I'm just like, so yeah. Anyway, so I went to get the prescription the next day. I got that, and I've been taking it since, and it's got a lot better. But I don't know. I just like, I thought when I spoke to the doctor this earlier this year about it, she said, or he said, you can just call in and tell them what you've been prescribed before, and it should be a quick prescription because you keep having this issue come up. And it costs 3.5 grand to remove this cyst.
Jesus.
And now I've got a second one. So that's 7 grand to remove both because it has to be life threatening. But yet, when these flare up, if they and get infected,
It can be life threatening.
they are life threatening. But because they're treatable by medication, it's not life threatening. It's not classed as even though I could accidentally if I leant on it and it burst or something in my body, it would be it and
You can.
it would kill me. But because they can treat it by medicine, which I can pay £10 for rather than them to do it and remove it for free, it's just a money making thing.
It is. It really is. And it's
Yeah,
disgusting as well.
yeah. It's like okay, you can pay £10 once a year for this medication, and you have 2 to 3 weeks of pain or give us 7 grand and we'll get rid of it for you now. So well, I don't really have much choice, especially in the climate we're in. Anyway, that's my old man rant. Done.
They're all good, sir. I mean, it's. I think it just goes to show that's there needs to be something done with the NHS and
Yeah.
like it's weird the podcast sort of turns into this where everyone can say there still needs to be done with the NHS and then it needs to be done because people like yourself are struggling with day-to-day health concerns and it's impossible to get them sorted unless they are life-threatening.
Hmm.
That shouldn't be the case. That really shouldn't be the case.
No, no. Oh, speaking of doctors,
Exactly. Yes. A more happier Doctor note.
Yes. Speaking of, well, it's not really. It's called the Doctor of War.
But
But
Alacrity Doctor.
speaking of feeling alacrity after having some medicine from a doctor, shall we have a little look at the segment I recorded with Matt Tyrrell and Thomas Aiden James about the Alacrity Doctor?
Yes, please, sir.
Overton Audios presents.
Get down, men! They're coming! What is your purpose here?
To help?
By whose authority?
My own. Dalek Production Factory on Dark Heart. Since when?
The Federation War.
Do you really want to end this war with more death?
They started this.
Looks a bit rough around the edges.
That's what happens when there's a war.
Why do you have these details?
I needed to cover it up.
Cover what up?
Looks like we're all going down together, boys.
Guys, run!
Who are you two?
Nobody of your concern.
Don't bother lying.
Doctor Who, The Alacrity Doctor Adventures, Volume 1, The Doctor of War. Starting the 9th of November 2024 at 12 p.m. And welcome back to the podcast. And I'm joined here by Matt Tyrrell and Thomas Aiden James. Hello.
Hello, Connor. We all good?
Oh, good. And we're talking about the Alacrity Doctor volume, which has been called The Doctor of War.
Yeah, here we are.
Indeed. And so we've had 5 episodes in total for that episode for that volume, God. That was Ceasefire, written by myself. And then we have 2 sets of 2-parters that follow, with The Scrap Traders Parts 1 and 2, written by Aiden O'Connor. And then we have Infiltration Parts 1 and 2, as written by... Well, the main writer was Thomas, but Matt, you also came into the second part, back when it was called Wolves at the Door. And you came in and put forward, I think it was the ideas for the Night Wolf, wasn't it?
Yeah, the main story was like for 4 and 5. I had a rough idea for. I was writing a good portion of the last episode. I just the university got very busy again, and I sort of subbed in Thomas to get over the line.
We started developing the volume quite early actually. We got the Prism 60th written and done in May 2023, and then I think it was the kind of beginning of autumn, maybe a little way into autumn of 2023, that we got volume 1 planned.
I'd been making a number of notes of where to go of it.
Yeah.
Like I had a rough idea of the time period and what kind of story it would be. Just it's getting it into a good place to start scripting and producing, which is when that started really happening.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember when obviously we've had this conversation before on the podcast, but it's actually now been 2 years since I asked you to be Alacrity Doctor.
Yeah, it's been just about actually.
Yeah, it was October 2022, I believe, and then we had then we had the January, which the January Cardiff trip is 2 years ago next January.
Oh goodness.
Funny.
It's of course, I think I've said this before in other podcasts. We had a couple of delays with this volume coming out. I put myself as part of that because I am running everything else, so I'm always aware and hyper aware that I'm slowing things down. I think I was the last person to finish actually writing in it. I wrote episode 1, and that was the last script finished at the end.
I think we got like the rest of the volume done sort of around about March, April time, and I think you finished in about May.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think mine was a lot later than that. I think because we'd planned originally for the volume to be out in March 2024, but the scripts and everything like that didn't get finalized until February. or not even finalized, just written. Meanwhile, I think my episode for Ceasefire, I think that got finished in June or July.
Yeah, it was roughly around that time when I started recording them.
Yes, because you were. I remember you were trying to find a quiet space, weren't you?
Yeah, and then my laptop broke, so I couldn't record for a few weeks.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So once all I got sorted.
Which one was the one that you did record? Because you also recorded for the Halloween special, didn't you?
Yeah, I recorded the Halloween special. When I think about May, early June. I think when I got it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like I know I recorded it while I was still at uni in my place then, and I recorded episode 1 at the end of July, and then my laptop's hinge broke, so I had to go get that fixed. So that took about a few weeks to get fixed. And then,
so thank goodness it wasn't like episode 2, because otherwise then it would have been a bit like you would have recorded one part of like the 2-parter, and then essentially come back and go, oh yeah, by the way, I got a new laptop and I've had to record like the second half, which I think probably would be a bit different, but obviously, I mean, it's a horrible thing when your laptop breaks, but like, thank goodness it kind of wasn't in like that.
Yeah, it wasn't be or end all.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wanted to, because I got a proper new microphone last year, so I wanted to make sure I used that rather than having to record with my phone again.
Oh yeah, fair.
I mean, to be honest, like your performance was still good, I'd say, because wasn't the 60th recorded by the phone?
60th was by my previous microphone, but like I think because I used it for through Audacity, and I don't know if some interface thing went wrong with it, but like there was just some background noise of it. I don't know why, but I switched to recording by Audition, and in my new microphone, a lot higher quality and a lot cleaner. So I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, it has been a lot cleaner. Yeah. I mean, as I said, you just got to look at the difference between like a year's difference between sort of the Prism 60th and Volume 1.
I was
in a way.
In a way, I when I listened to Infinite Exordium and compared it to Prism 60th, I was like, oh my god, this was the best. This is a very good decision switching to this microphone because oh dear. But yeah, so we got over that line eventually. We're all good.
Yeah, and with this particular storyline, because we obviously, I know we've spoken about it already, but because it's been, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be nearly a year since it come out. Volume 1 technically starts with Infinite Exordium. It starts as what you might call it's a prologue of sorts. Introduces Alacrity in a sort of more what you might call traditional post-regeneration scenario. It introduces the concept of the Federation War to Alacrity. We obviously have who they're looking for, which is the Centurion and the Seeker by the end of it. And then we have the setup of the Companion. We have a nice interlude with Footsteps in the Snow. Of course, myself and Thomas have talked about that in last month's podcast. But this is one of those stories where you can pick this up straight after Infinite Exordium. I'm really proud of a lot of these stories in the volume. It really, this volume really feels fresh to me. And, I've made 500 of these audio dramas now. So it can sometimes all blend into one. But Ceasefire as a story, I was really proud of what I'd done with that. Where, you had Alacrity stood on a battlefield defending creatures that once were Daleks to essentially the rebellion who he used to, who he would ordinarily be on the side of if they're fighting, if the war continued to be about Daleks. And now he's against them because they're trying to kill people who are innocent. I think we talked a bit about this, Matt, very briefly, but there is an allegory in that story to real world events. I'm aware that obviously via your social medias, you've been very outspoken about the conflict happening in Gaza. And the title of the episode is no coincidence either. I wanted to write a story that was, because we always talked about with the character of Alacrity, we wanted Alacrity to have elements of you in there. And that's why I thought it was important to do sort of a story that we weren't, because this is something I talked to a couple of people about how much can you touch upon without it becoming disrespectful, because I don't want to turn something as serious as that conflict into a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, and I think you balanced that quite well. I got pretty emotional when I was recording and reading it. Yeah, I loved it a lot. I think it was very powerful and the kind of stories we need right now.
Yeah, something that the message is still there, even if the context of how that message is said is slightly differs from the reality we're in at the moment. And in a way, I think it needed to. If we'd made a one-to-one comparison and implied certain groups of people were once Daleks and then they're not, and then there's, it becomes very trivial in the end, and it deflects from the point. And overall, it's the Doctor standing in front of a group of vulnerable people, defending them from people who are powerful than them.
Yeah,
and that's the message, really. And that can apply to many other situations as well that have happened in the last few years within Europe. Within, like, obviously there's, obviously I'm not going to try and get too political with it, but Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, you could apply it to
there's so many,
pretty much any conflict.
Yeah. Oh, exactly, and that's what. But it's extremely something that I think can transcend not just a particular present day conflicts, but conflicts in the past, and I'm sure there'll be many more in the future. I'm sure. But in a sort of stark contrast, we end up on the scrap traders, which I've never done macro on Overton Audios before, and it was really interesting to finally have a delve into that classic villain.
Yeah, I had the idea for this. This is a slight sidestep, but like a lot of the some of the ideas is when I was playing a lot of the Star Wars games and the animated shows.
Yeah.
And I know in the Fallen Order game, you open up on a scrapyard, and I thought a setting like that would be brilliant for some sort of story. And I came up with the Mac because I'm a big fan of the Troughton era. I really enjoy that era.
Yeah.
And the Mac was not really been done that much. So
I think the last time we've seen them is in Gridlock.
Yeah, in the show, and I don't think I've seen Macro at all in fan audios that I've seen.
No, I think like sort of like the Weeping Angels are like harder sort of villains to do audio wise, because you've got sort of them. They are more sort of. I mean, they've got sound effects to them, but it's more, they don't say much in that way. So it's
no,
not
exactly. And there've been two kinds of macro that have shown up. They're still all macro, but there's the ones from the Macro Terror, which are much more sentient and cunning in what they're doing, whereas in Gridlock they were more kind of feral and just living within the gas. I'd argue that these ones in the Scrap Traders lean more into the feral ones. They're just existing within the scrap, and if people happen to walk into that scrap, then that's on them. But
exactly.
No, it was really interesting as well to see Alacrity, because obviously, his name would, the Alacrity Doctor would usually speak for itself. But in this story, he was actually showed a lot more of his sort of harsher side. He doesn't get any answers he wants from the person running the scrapyard. That he puts him in, like, isn't it the Venusian hold?
Yes.
He literally puts him in the Venusian hold and demands answers from him, which, so far, like, obviously we've aimed to have this Doctor be more optimistic. and lighter, but that was I think it's a good testament to show how sometimes even in the aftermath of war, someone is still able to be kind of corrupted by it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, not as much patience, I'd say.
No, exactly, and that is something that we've also talked about with any other stories moving forward, is that this particular volume ends up getting to very dark places for Alacrity, which is actually addressed in the finale anyway by Lorna, the companion played by Kath Meal. Another thing about Scrap Traders is I think it took Aiden 7 months to write in the end.
I remember. I sort of. I think he signed on for doing it because I made it. Yeah, about this time last year, a bit earlier, and
I remember he wasn't originally meant to be doing a 2-parter. It was just originally a 1-part story, and then
I think I remember that. Yeah,
and then I think we had this idea of doing 2-parters for this one. So in total 3 stories, but told with 2 of them being 2-parters, making 5 episodes.
Yeah.
I think he was meant to be down to do a single part. Then he got asked, "Can you make it into a 2-part?" Which is what slightly delayed things. But then, of course, we had a little bit there were little pauses here and there because of life stuff happening. That meant that he ended up pausing for longer. yeah, I think he ended up just pausing for a bit too long, and then it got to 7 months, and we were like, "Oh, all right." Whoops.
We're here now.
I think it got to the point where I don't know if we're going to discuss this in the next episode, but I had finished I think I finished the first one before he had.
Yes, episode 4. Episode 4 was done for quite a while, and that was called "Everybody's in the Air," I believe, originally.
Yes, that title is it's a musical reference to a band that I really like called Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. One of the musical songs is called was Everybody's. I don't know. I think it's Everybody's in the something, but
Everybody's in the Air.
No, it's not that. No, that was part of that was made up by myself and that.
Oh, right, fair.
But the other reason why I did that was because of the nature of the episode, because most of the episode was, it turned out to be was a lot of the episode was basically to be in that one location. It fit more with that old title a little bit. And then I think when I told you about that title, Matt, I think you went, the second part should be Wolves at the Door.
That was actually named after a playlist I had saved.
Oh,
yeah.
That is the true story of where the original title came from. Like, that was a playlist I had saved on Spotify.
Yeah, there was a time during the editing process where I considered making episodes 4 and 5 1 part.
Oh.
Well, because the first part is 18 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second part's 28 minutes. And if you put that together, it's still only 45 minutes, and Ceasefire's around 40 minutes. So I thought, I could combine them. Then the titles wouldn't make sense. But I almost thought they look like 1-parters anyway, which is why I ended up renaming them just to Infiltration, just to make it clear that they are connected. Because they're kind of like, I'd argue they're a little bit more loosely connected in the same way that Utopia is connected to The Sound of Drums.
Exactly. That's sort of the idea.
I'd say more Under the Lake and Before the Flood.
Fair.
Kind of like one part of the story is in that one location, obviously with the with Under the Lake, it was a lot with the base underwater.
Yeah.
And then with the second part, it was basically you still had the base, but in this case, you still had the airship, but you still also have like all these new locations as well. So plus, it's also sort of going forwards and a little bit backwards. By the way, I found out what the song title was. It was "Everybody's on the Run."
Oh, right, yeah, fair.
By the High Flying by Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. But as I said, like I put "Everybody's in the Air" just because, as I said, for the reason beforehand.
Yeah, of course, no worries. But yeah, with this particular 2-parter, it's very much this one very much sets up the ongoing storyline that we'll delve into, with Arcturus being more formally introduced. I think they were briefly not mentioned, but they were seen, I think, in the scrap traders at the end, with Mr. Ailing getting arrested, and Mr. Ailing gets brought into episode 4, which is on the ship that flies off.
Yeah. Which I kind of want to discuss about that. Matt had told me about about those elements, but because Aiden hadn't finished up episode 3 for a while, I think the first couple of drafts, until it was all sort of until Aiden's 2-parter was finished. I didn't actually know the full details of what happened. I think Matt had told me like a couple of details.
Yeah, I had a rough idea of what it would be, just a matter of how it turned out.
I think the problem with that was obviously because it was sort of finished first. It was just a case of like other details will come later.
Yeah, exactly. Because what ended up happening was Aiden wrote his, and there's a little android called GR79.
Yeah.
And he, at the end, turned GR79 into like a K9 style companion.
Yeah.
And then I read episode 4 and was like, what? Where's GR79 gone? And then they never mentioned GR79. So I went, oh, okay, this is where the crossovers happened, where we've been told the basic brief for the story, but this element was never mentioned. So I just ended up getting rid of the part where GR79 becomes a companion, and instead has him go off with one of the crew members on the scrapyard.
Which, I mean, had I been told about, I would have definitely included.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was just one of those things. It was just one of those things where people were working at different paces at that point.
I think episode 4 was done in February. I think it was like early February. Was
probably
was it even January? I think it was.
I couldn't tell you to save my life.
I think it was January or February, but just because I can remember it, I think it was before my birthday. Or was it after my birthday? I don't even know. But no, for a long while, that was the only finalized thing of the volume, and for a while it was like, oh right. Again, I said like no crossover. There was a bit of crossover details, and then because at the time I think he was still sort of developing 5.
I've actually found the dates of which these scripts were finished.
Oh goodness, right.
Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, go on.
So, I'll tell you in order of date. Infinite Exordium was the draft of that was sent over to me in May 2023. The draft that you sent me of Everything's in the Air, you sent to me on the 14th of December 2023.
Really?
Yeah, I've got it here. Apparently it arrived at 6 a.m. And then I've got episode 5 down as the 6th of February 2024.
Oh no, hold on. Yeah, now I'm misremembering things. Yeah, sorry. December. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, right. But no. Either way, it was there's a very diverse amount of stories that happen in this volume. You know, we're on a planet ravaged by war. We've got a scrapyard in space infected with macra. Then we're literally, well, for lack of a better word, in the air.
Yeah.
And crashing down to the planet, and then you know, you've got adventures everywhere. You're running through caverns, running through mountains and snowy biomes, all that sort of stuff. It's a very much action-packed thing. What was always interesting to me was the character of the Nightwolf.
Yeah, that was one of the earliest things I actually noted down.
Yeah.
That was like really early when I did that. I sort of made that in. I don't know where it came from, but I thought like, it sounds good. So I sort of started making a bit of a backstory to that and implemented it in here, and here we are.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's a very very interesting character, that's for sure. And that's not the last we've seen of this character either. There is more mysteries to unravel. We did that, and then it was definitely a story where Lorna ended up having to give Alacrity a little bit of a reality check.
Yeah.
Because he had jumped straight into wanting to help people, which, you know, is something that he wanted to do. He wanted to return back to himself. After everything that had happened in his previous regeneration, he wanted to have a sort of an enlightened, happier time, and this stuff wasn't making him happy. He was able to help people, which is the happiness he took from it, but ultimately the conflicts are still out there and still happening. And that's why it was good to have that little reality check at the end of the volume from the companion, who, of course, has said, "Yeah, I'll come along because you gave me no choice." If you remember, the companion, the companion literally says, is told, by the Doctor, "I can't get you home as the navigation circuits aren't working properly. So I guess you'll have to tag with me for a bit." And while she's had a lot of fun and been patient with him, it was in this moment that she kind of had to say, "Hey, look, I'm not coming here and traveling with you was not my first choice." But I kind of like that as well, because they have ended up working quite well together, despite the kind of original unwillingness to travel. And I know we've got stuff planned for the next volume, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what we do with that. But overall, I'm really chuffed with it. Is there any particular thing about the volumes that you both thought were highlights for you?
I'll let you go first, Thomas.
I would probably say just, I guess, if we conclude Footsteps with it, the fact that, like, despite me being brought on sort of as the last person, like, I know we've discussed this from last time, but despite me being brought on as the last person sort of in the planning, I don't want to say this sort of, like, personally, but, like, I think I ended up sort of, you know, completing a lot of things, because, as you said, like, you know, Matt, you had a lot of trouble with 5 time, and that's, I mean, we ended up discussing a lot about, like, how we would finish it, and I mean, I don't know if it's you know, having sort of completed 4 and 5, really. I don't know, Matt, do you feel like 5 has been sort of finished in the way that you originally wanted it to?
Yeah, I think my problem. I think I was. It's not that I was struggling with 5. I was like, I constantly was like, this is too short. I feel like it was going up. It was wrapped up too quickly. I was like, I struggle.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with making things relatively longer. I pace too quick. I don't pace that great.
Yeah, I think that's the same as we can tell from episode 4, but that's something I'm definitely working on for volume 2. This point, but no, just a case of sort of not only doing 4 and 5, but also doing Footsteps, which we've already discussed anyways. But, like, in that case, it sort of fills in a lot of the sort of chapters for the Doctor and Lorna, and I'm really glad that I was able to sort of to get an opportunity to do those. I do like 4 as much as well, just because the case of sort of half of it is really sort of not with the Doctor and Lorna. They don't come into like halfway through, so in that case, it's like it does grow on sort of like a lot of the other characters, which, you know, I hope everybody enjoyed those. I'm not sure exactly if we're going to bring them back or not, but you never know. But well, that's something in the future, maybe. No, but I know I really enjoyed sort of every other episode as well. Like, just not only just sort of like reading episode 1 and 2 and 3, like even I saw those were like just really good, and that just like episode 1 itself was probably a really different sort of opening for a series, and I just think it's it's you've already discussed a lot about it, but it's just a fantastic and different sort of side of it, really. And episode 2 and 3 themselves, it's got a strange idea to it, and it's got a sort of unusual sort of monster to choose, but in the way, sort of how the story sort of forms out from how it's done, which is excellently done, really. I think the only other sort of the only other thing I really sort of praise on is the work done by half. Really, just honestly, like I'm still amazed on what she's done. Not only from starting in Infinite and that, and then like even from sort of the sort of character changes that we have done since Infinite, and how we've been able to sort of work that through for our time, sort of working on the series. Just the fact that she's been there and sort of from top to bottom. Honestly, it's you've had yourself a really good sort of like other person that you're sharing the series with, and again, Lorna's another character which like because I remembered ages ago you were discussing about Lorna, and just like this is a character which I could see definitely sort of like what she would do for the series, but not until sort of like not it would be like even Infinite Exordium, but like even this series has just shown, as you and Connor have said, like basically just things that sort of Lorna has done to help the Doctor in a way, really, and it's sort of a different dynamic. And again, I'm just glad that sort of Kath's been able to sort of do that with you, really.
Yeah. If I'd like to, okay, my own thoughts. All right. I look for a while. Every time it was brought up when I was making it, I was like, when I was reading like so, especially like for like my own planning briefs, sort of idea. Because the original goal was try to do something that is fresh, new, and not really been done on Overton Audios or in other audios. Because I want to try to do something that's not done really.
Yeah.
And especially when things were starting to move a bit, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking, "Dear God, we have screwed up bad. This is never going to work."
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like 4 and 5 and the other story stuff, I was like, "Oh, I think the thing that made that changed everything and made me, okay, yeah, we're good." Is I think when we was planning Volume 2, you played episode 5 to us, and I was like, okay, I haven't taken us down a dark path. We've done something pretty good here.
Oh, that's good.
Especially like the first few scenes with the Night Wolf, I was very blown away by. I think your editing as well was just unimaginably good. I was kind of blown away by it, and I was like, "Look at what we've done," and I was like, "This isn't disaster."
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah,
in a way, it's sort of it's been very different as well, because like, I mean, in the past we've produced stuff and that like separately, but like to Overton, I think this is like the first time us two have sort of definitely been in this position and that, and obviously with these things we are sort of we're not new, but it's like it's a new sort of chapter sort of in that field in that case, and sort of like some of the things that you think from before might work, they don't, but like as you said, really just I'm glad we've been able to sort of not mess it up, but I don't think we did.
No, I don't think so. I like what after hearing it, like hearing the finished product is what like changed it from me being paranoid about it to being okay. We've done something pretty good here.
I think for me was when
something I want to comment on. I think people were really casted really well as in this volume. I think everyone has worked very well in
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the characters were
Yeah,
probably a strong point,
including
in my opinion.
including myself, which I'm in episode 4. Yeah. It's so kind of weird. Like, I mean, for you two, honestly, you've got sort of like different parts in it, but it's like not only was I doing the part that I did for myself, which I think is the first time I've actually ever done that. Really, I think I've never actually been in a thing which I've written myself. For you, Connor, and that. So,
Yeah.
but in that case, like I'm sort of glad that like you also give an opportunity to do that because especially with even with the different casting processes, like you've
Oh God!
it's
Don't
been
bring.
very
Don't,
well done.
you've just reminded me about something I'd forgotten about those episodes you wrote.
Oh yeah.
You wrote 30 characters into an audio drama, and all of them had one line each. Because you were trying to write the freedom fighters, and you made sure that every freedom fighter had a name and a thing to do, which is fair enough. I could see, reading it, you can see what was going on, because you wanted everyone to have their own. You wanted to give the impression of a busy place, and everyone had their own personalities. But I don't know that. That's the same cast as the Prism. It's actually more. Prism 60th only had 25 characters in it, and you had 30.
It's got to be a record.
yeah. So in the end, I merged them all to be Freedom Fighter and did different Overton voices, and obviously then you do some sound design. I feel like it needed. Yeah, sometimes it just needs a bit of a dominant voice, to have that, and that's what the Freedom Fighter was. And I played the Freedom Fighter at the beginning when he was talking with, I believe it was Leo's character, and then he's there throughout. He's there throughout as well. He's there throughout, and there are other people that I think Nick Payne played one of the characters as well. It was just not having 30 people do it instead. But yeah, it's certainly been a fun and exciting experience. And obviously, all the cover arts were made by the wonderful Daniel Patton. He is
sweet Daniel.
He is the marvelous sweet Daniel. And he put them together very nicely. He got a bit tired with me asking about the Dalek models for the cover art, because I told him I needed them to look like the Federation War Daleks and be damaged, and he was really struggling with this particular model he had because the pieces wouldn't entirely move independently of the overall shape in the 3D modelling software he was using. So as a result, trying to get damaged Daleks, having the Dalekanium peel off, having little scuffs and everything, took a little while, but we got there in the end. And that was good. And I think, as it's a production factory as well, it looks good.
He's a Picasso of his art.
Oh, yes, very much so, very much. Yes. And, I've got a lot of ideas and for future Alacrity stories.
We do sort of have a roadmap in place going forward.
Yeah. There is this, it goes
I'm not more easy with that. Yeah,
it goes without saying that there is going to be a second volume because you're the new guy on the street, so to speak. But so if there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about regarding the Alacrity volume, because I think we've covered quite a bit there.
Just want to give my thanks to everyone involved. I think you've all been pretty excellent.
Oh yes, definitely.
Like I know I said earlier I was sort of dreading it, but now I'm like, what was I worried about? We've done something pretty good here, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed it as well, because I've tried to bring something new, a new vision, and
it's a very fun vision.
Yeah, I've wanted to, and we'll get in. You'll understand more of it going forward. What the goals were when starting out, but I'm very thankful to all involved. All the cast and editors, writers, everyone did a fantastic job, really. So you all deserve the praise and credit in the world. Quite frankly, I'm very proud and very grateful for all of you. So, thank you.
Indeed, sir. Indeed. Well, in that case, then, thank you very much to yourself, Matt, and to Thomas as well for making yourself available for this little segment recording.
Thank you, Connor.
And
No worries.
I shall send it back over to myself, and hopefully, if Sweet Daniel is there, back to Sweet Daniel as well.
All right. Goodbye.
And welcome back to the podcast. I am still here with sweet Daniel Patton.
That's me.
And we are going to read some comments for Doctor Who Monsters and Villains, the Halloween volume that we released in October, no less.
Yes, because that's when Halloween is.
Yes, exactly. See, Daniel gets it. I hope everyone else did. I hope it was obvious. So did you want to start off with episode 1, sir?
Yeah, sure thing. We'll start out with the Night of Alucard, and we'll start with the Multi-Voice Entertainment 7031. Well done, you did an outstanding job on this episode. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you very much. They have 2 comments from sorry, I'm struggling to read that a little bit.
Me too, in all fairness.
Gratitus. Great. I'm very sorry for it. We are
Great.
butchering.
It looks like it looks like it could be the word gracious, but not written right. I don't know.
Gracious.
Yeah, we'll say that. Gracious 10.
Gracious 10. I can't wait for episodes 2 and 3, where we finally continue the Alacrity and Frontier adventures.
Very topical for the episode that we're currently commenting on.
Exactly, sir. And he also says, "Am I mistaken if this wasn't originally released a few years ago?" And what you do go into clarification that it is a remaster of the 2010 Irish Doctor Halloween specials, which we include in this volume just because they're very topical about sort of like the old sort of fashions movie villains. Like
well, that's also the thing as well, which is it all of the episodes take place in the past around the same time period. It just made sense.
Exactly, and plus it was nice to give it a sort of a wee touch up after all these years as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lovely cover art from yourself. It was the same. It was very much like people could see how it was familiar, but also how new things have been added to it to refine the cover.
Yeah, and I applied the same sort of effect to all the covers, just so it all looks uniform.
Indeed.
But shall we move on to episode 2, sir?
Oh yes, very well. So we're moving on to episode 2 called Footsteps in the Snow, which is the second episode of the Alacrity Doctor era. Not so much the Adventures, as that's its own range, but this technically takes place almost immediately after his post-regeneration story. And this involves the Invisible Man, no less. We have a comment here from Lightweaver 1839 who says, "Every place has a story in it, and sometimes it is even the one told. Thanks for this." Then Gladiator 652004 says, "There's a twist at the end. Bravo." And yes, indeed, I don't
always
not,
a twist at the end.
Oh God, yeah. And then then we have Multi-Voice Entertainment 7013 who says, "Well done on that episode, Doctor Who, dealing with the Invisible Man. Very awesome." And then we have a comment from MMS, or I think we once called 96155, and this is Thomas Aiden James himself, who was not one of the writers. He is the writer of this story, and he went, "I was so worried in case I'd messed this up, but I'm glad to see that people like it so much as one of the continuing chapters of the Alacrity Doctor." And then we have another comment from Martin Foot 8224 saying, "Good creepy stuff." Monsters and Villains was received really, really well by people.
Yeah, I mean, the Halloween stuff always is a lot of fun. It's good because it's like we always do creepy stuff every now and again, but to have like a full dedicated volume just for the season is always very nice to do.
It's not something we've done before. We've always just done the one-off specials, but to have a whole volume for it, it was something that I think you and I were saying we've got to do that at some point, but we couldn't think of something where it would only work for the Irish Doctor. It was nice to be able to have other Prism Doctors have their own Halloween specials because it had become very much an Irish exclusive thing, hadn't it? And we've also, that means, had Halloween specials every 2 years.
Yeah, so we got a plan what we're doing for 2026 now.
Oh God, the 10 years anniversary. What do we do? Oh. But yes, anyway, we have the comments for episode 3, Hide Seek, and this is the second episode of the Frontier era. We have comment here from MMS 96155 who says, Dom has definitely worked his socks off, making an excellent version of the tale of Jekyll and Hyde. Love it. I can't wait for more with Frontier. Another comment from Johan the Blue, who says, putting a spin on what the transforming agent is, one of my more favourite classic stories. Well done. And a comment here from Old Thunderdog Creations 8596, and this is actually Mart Eonian who played Jekyll and Hyde, who says, very proud to be a part of this one. Thank you. Grace Beard, who also plays Alice in this episode, said, thank you for letting me be a part of this story, with a comment saying you were phenomenal. Then we have Multi-Voice Entertainment 7013 saying, what a challenge and what punishment does Jekyll and Hyde have to face? But all in all, well done. Another comment from Martin Foote 8224 who says, enjoying these Halloween specials. Again, thank you so much for all these comments in episode 3, and I'm really glad that people stayed very consistent in their interactions as well. It was really nice to see.
Yeah.
So we move on to the comments for episode 4, which was the Grey Portrait. The first story for Cravat after the Prism 60th. So it'd been nearly a year since we'd seen the next story for Cravat.
Yeah.
Because he'd appeared in other things, but as past Cravat, like in the multiversal story we did, that was Cravat. That was Cravat with Julia, and Henry Woodman into the storybook. That's Cravat after Julia's died, but not but before series 4. So this is his first in continuity continuation.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a comment here from Jaden Tries, who played Basil Hallwood. And he said, pleasure to have been on board with this. It came out fab from what I've heard so far. And then a comment from John and Harper, no less, Dark Design Dramas, saying, this was a good listen. And then Lightweave responds saying, yes.
Quite.
Yes, indeed. And then we have a comment from MMS 96155 saying, I mean, of course Cravat would face Dorian Gray. Another excellent adventure for him and the Chaddies in the pre-Paternoster gang. See, that's another thing that was interesting as well. We got to see the Pat gang before they were the Pat gang.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
This is the story of how Vastra and Jenny in this, they aren't a couple.
That, because it's a weird thing to think about. Because every time they're always so flirtatious with one another, and because they're very much that sort of, what's the word? Sort of like dynamic couple, and so it's weird to see the foundations of that here.
Well, this is the thing I talked to Abby about, because Abby Louise, who plays Jenny Flint and helps produce the Pat Gang volumes, she knows everything. She knows everything about them. They still have to, like, Jenny, even though in a relationship with Madame Vastra, she still has to play the maid of the house. They still have to play society.
Yeah.
She can't be seen not to be being the maid, because it would arouse too much suspicion.
Yeah.
And obviously they're trying to make sure Vastra doesn't get found out as a Silurian, and that things aren't untoward and they don't draw attention to themselves. And obviously that's why Strax plays the butler role as well. So it was very interesting that they are playing these roles, but exclusively just the role of Madame and maid. And there's no relationship yet. And it was something I talked to Abby a lot about. I just wanted to make sure that we paid respect to the characters as well.
Exactly, sir. And I think they did a very good job of that as well. And obviously he had Abby consulting on this one.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think she'd be the harshest critic of them all.
yes, very much so.
But with the Knight of Alucard, there was no comments, but it was a re-release. I was saying the Knight of Alucard, the Knight of Dracula, has no comments, but that's because it's a re-release. But I still think it is one of my personal favorite Irish Doctor stories.
Well, in that case, then I've quickly flicked to the original release.
Oh.
And I'll very quickly just read out the comment from Michael Cox from 4 years ago.
Oh.
Just so that we've got something to say about it. Because I think when that came out, that was a Comic-Con weekend.
Yes.
So this is the problem we've had recently when we release stuff at the Comic-Con weekends. We've had this recently with the Alacrity Doctor Adventures episode 3. That came out on Doctor Who Day. It's not really had the same traction as the previous episodes, which has been an interesting thing. But nonetheless, anyway, here's the comment that was written 4 years ago by Michael Cox about Night of Alucard, the original.
Yeah.
Another brilliant production, as ever. Excellent performances from all the cast members. I hope there'll be other opportunities to use William Roberts, as he's got a great voice. I loved the turning point at 14 minutes 33 seconds, because I really wasn't sure how the story was going to play out, but well done on keeping the tension going and culminating in a superb resolution. So there we go. We still got to read a comment.
Indeed, sir. But then we also have we recently we released a teaser trailer for the Fractured Timeline finale, The Doctor Lost the Time.
Indeed.
Yeah, because I just realized because we've as you know, so we're a bit behind on the filming, and I just want to release something towards the end of the year just to show off what we've been filming this year, how it's looking
Course.
so far, and
Yeah.
yeah. So let's start things off with
Mm-hmm.
we have Doc Domini 6535, and he just says I can't wait.
Oh, good.
We have uh the Debonair.
These
I
names
am
are
struggling
not
with these names. I'm so sorry. It says,
debonair nerd.
yeah, Debonair. This trailer is better than I won't comment on that.
Oh no,
I will
no,
not.
no, not one of these.
Not one of these.
No.
I'm just gonna say right now, I do not appreciate these comments, to be honest with you. I don't
It's
like the comparison.
for clarity for people who didn't catch it. It's the comments that compare us to the real show and how the show isn't as good.
Yeah,
It's not something like we do this out of love for the show.
yeah.
So when we get comments on people from people basically talking poorly of the show and saying how much better we are, it doesn't it doesn't
No.
help.
We do
I,
this out of absolute love for the show, and because
yeah.
we I know I know the series is getting its fair share of criticism. I personally love where the show has been going recently.
Mm.
But that's its own topic. That's its own debate. So
Oh yes. Oh yes.
we'll carry on with the comments reading. We have James Witt, 108, and he's just saying, "Let's go." We have Cameron Little Gaming, and he stumbled on this randomly, and it looks incredible. Can't wait to check it out, man. Thank you very
That's
much.
good.
And we have Hugo. We have Colonel
Oh.
Stevenson himself,
Mhm.
who, by the way, has now officially made their visual debut.
Oh, lovely. I'm so happy.
At last time, more than just a few photos and some audio clips. You're always more than just that.
Oh yes, Hugo. Always, always. I need to meet. I need to organise to meet up with Hugo soon. It's been too long. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen Hugo since we filmed that.
Yes, because we filmed that along with the Mariner stuff. I literally
Yeah.
because I had no idea I was going to meet up with Hugo. We talked about it before. I had no idea I was going to meet up with Hugo that day. So I
No,
had to
no, no. Like it's in my monthly vlog. Speaking topically, but in the February 2022 episode, I said I've got to go. What did I say to you? I said to you and Anya, I've got to go out and quickly collect something.
yeah, like a parcel or something came.
Yeah, and I came back, and because Anya had never met Hugo, but Hugo kept his hood up, so you can see in the clip he runs in basically wearing this big puffy coat and a hood up, and
And I went,
Anya thinks Anya was telling me that she thinks it's an intruder. But I mean, it was only when Hugo took off their hood and said hello, and you said hello. Like if you watch Anya the whole time, Anya has looking at me, then looking at you, and then looking really confused.
that's what I mean. It's like when I was like, oh, Colonel Stevenson, sir.
You're like, you have to go. It's Colonel Stevenson.
But I had to because I knew we were talking about potentially having Colonel Stevenson live in the finale, but at that point I was still writing it. I had to quickly write the scene. I
Yeah.
literally wrote up in my drafts uh in my notes app and we recorded it like half an hour later.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was it was a bit mental, but the scene it very much stuck, and I'm glad it's because it was always one of those things like I gotta make sure this always fits in, and it still does.
Oh, good, good, good.
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
But then we have Dark Void. I'm currently making my own movie, but wish it could look like that. We get comments like this every so often as well. Basically, people saying they wish they make stuff like us. Um, I'm no,
It was no small feat to get to this point for us. You'll get there too.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like this is an amalgamation of a lifetime of work,
Mm,
a lifetime of meeting people like yourself, like Ruben, like James, and like
yep.
Laurie, especially. Those are people who came into my life because I was making this here.
Mm,
So to make something of this feat, of this caliber, has always been you have to start out with small ideas and let those ideas grow, and then as you go along, you meet people who want to see you make this ambitious thing,
mm.
and um, that's the I've been saying my gratitude for the people who stuck with me with this project.
Oh yes, indeed, indeed.
You especially, sir.
Oh, sir.
And then we have Valix, who I'm very grateful they commented on this because big. They commented just saying about how lying goes really hard, and that's why I think when the Irish doctor says, um, I've broken a few rules already, and I don't mind breaking a few more.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
powerful, Daniel.
We have Filmstorm Studios, and they said the
Oh,
hype is strong with this one.
it's a Star
Does
Wars
feel it, I
reference.
do feel it. We have TARDIS Glitch, and they're
Oh
throwing
yeah.
out this random theory out into the ether that the
Oh.
Dictator is the Lost Doctor, and the timeline differential is why the Irish Doctor can't remember them, because there was a good reason that someone was lost. I have any evidence to support this? No, just a random first glance theory, and there's been a lots of these sort of theories. Can I
Was
tell you
what
the
the time differential is like when the fifth Doctor got old because they were with the 10th Doctor, right?
I think it's like when they were like multiple incarnations meet, it's the timeline trying to rework itself. I can see the theory, I can understand what they're trying to say, but I'm also like I've been having like lots of theories recently, and like the Dictator's also the Lost Doctor. Do you know what the one of the weirdest ones I've heard?
Oh yeah.
That Maggie Mays is the Lost Doctor,
Oh,
and I'll just say they're all just a theory.
they are. They are. It is great though when people start making theories like this.
I love when
I
people
think
talk about stuff. It's one of my
mm,
favorite things about this.
it's when you know that you've really got something because people are discussing the potentials for the future, and which means they're looking forward to it. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. Like I remember when it came out, the Discord was just flooding of other ones. The Maggie May
Mm,
one was the one that took me back. It's like, to be fair, I can see why they might have thought that because there's a lack of Maggie in the teaser. That's because we had nothing to show of Maggie for this teaser.
mm.
But like, it's
Well,
I
it's also no secret as well that we've talked about it in this podcast before, and you've announced that I'm in it.
yeah, you are in it.
I still haven't filmed. That's why like there's a lot of stuff there that you've wanted to put together, but I haven't done my
Yeah,
filming yet. So
uh, uh,
that's why because a lot of people wondered where I was. I went
yeah, and
well,
Chelsea's also in it. She also appears
yeah.
as Julia. I publicly announced this.
Mm,
It is there's still lots of people that needs to be filmed. It is yourself, Chelsea, a couple of also extra special people that I can't announce right now. But
mm.
also we still have scenes to film with Lost themselves.
Oh,
So it's a lot of secrets that are being kept behind scenes, but also things that are yet to be filmed. So when the full trailer comes out, I think that's when the explosion of theories is really going to happen.
mm.
But we
Yes,
also have
indeed.
Doctor Who or DW Boy 14 saying, I don't mind breaking a few more is a great line.
I think I sense that people like this line.
I think so, yeah. And then we have Martin Foot as well, who was
Oh,
Martin came back here saying, wow, it looks intense.
mm.
And a lot of people seem to agree with him. That looks intense.
Yes. Yes,
So
indeed, indeed.
that's been amazing. I've been amazed by the response of this teaser, honestly.
People, I've always noticed, and this is something I talked to quite a few creators. Sometimes And I think this has happened a decent balance for you, but there are some people who make their stuff with their doctors who never get any comments or really any much interaction with their doctors, and then when they leave, everyone starts missing them, and they realize they were like, "Where were you during this?" And I feel like there are like the audience have followed you consistently.
I think that's true as well, and I'm very grateful for that. And it's I'm not sure how I'm not sure how to feel on it yet because I still haven't left. I'm still very knee deep into this production, and it's I think when I'm getting closer to the end point is when I'm going to start feeling the feels.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's like I know it's not exactly the same, but it's like me and my monthly vlog. Been doing that for 10 to 15 years,
Yeah, and
and now I'm on the last month.
yeah, I mean like you start probably filming the last month of your monthly vlog in a few days.
Well, I've actually technically been setting it up a little bit differently for
Oh,
the
okay.
December one. It's a little bit of a different format. It's more of a farewell tour type thing. So there are some things that I filmed actually today.
Oh, okay, okay.
But no, yeah, I'm not actually filming any official vlogging content until December starts. So I've got a few days, but this is something a little bit different, which you'll everyone will get when it's out.
Okay, sir.
Hmm.
Yes. Now then, speaking of things to come,
Yes.
we have the 2025 releases.
Oh my word.
And because I've been more present recently, I was actually finally able to make the wee animatic that comes at the comes around this time of year.
Oh yes, indeed, sir.
Shall we check it out, sir?
Yes. Here we go. Wow. What a lovely graphic you have made for us, sweet Daniel.
A very exciting year to come, my friend.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, for starters, let's start off with what's coming out in January. Next month, in fact, we have Glimpses of Gallifrey. This was
Yeah.
something that was extremely last minute. Michael Cox came to me the end of September, I want to say the end of September,
Mhm.
um, and said, I have an idea. It would be a story set on Gallifrey with the First Doctor and Susan pre-flight from Gallifrey, and it would be introducing the concept of what Susan was like at the Academy, what the First Doctor was like with, and then just life on Gallifrey. And it doesn't just have to, it's more of an anthology series. It's there's a volume of 2 episodes for this one.
Mm.
It's called A Holiday to Remember, and it's in reference to a story that was said on Flight from Gallifrey and Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension 1, which was about the time they went up mountaineering.
Hmm.
So it's based on that.
Oh, okay, okay.
But but is it the
But
is it the story that I just referenced or not? That's the twist.
ooh, okay, okay. I'm not very familiar with most of that part of the lore, so I'm very interested to listen
No,
to
that's
that.
exactly it. He's Michael Cox is very much lent into the novelizations of the lore.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of nice references to early life of the Doctor. The next volume we have,
is multiversal recovery.
indeed, if anyone thinks this title sounds familiar, it is a reference to Cravat's first, what I call first proper story, which was called Universal Recovery. This is a Cravat Doctor volume. Takes place after the Grey Portrait from Monsters and Villains. It is the fallout from series 4 of Doctor Who Resurrection. The two-parter that was called High Society, where a multiversal engine was used and caused cracks in the skin of their universe to allow things that had fallen through into the multiverse to fly out into theirs. And this is the fallout from that. And it's where the Doctor and his companions are trying to fix it. It's a very simple concept, very simple, but nonetheless, it's been a very exciting volume to work on.
You've had this one penciled in for quite a while. I remember we were talking about it. I think well before we even filmed Marinus. Like you were talking about this volume.
I plan far in advance.
You really do. It scares me sometimes.
Yes, but of course, speaking of planning in advance, next Supers Volume 3, nearly two
Yes.
years after the previous volume. I was trying to make a volume yearly, but this year, oh God, there just wasn't time. So we've got Supers Volume 3 for March 2025, another 4 episodes to continue the storyline of the people who have discovered powers fighting the mysterious and I don't want to say villainous because he's not
Yeah.
quite a villain, but
But also, sir, things that have been in the works for a while, or at least on ice for a while. We have Mastermind Volume 3.
oh yes, yes
Yeah.
indeed, indeed, we do. Mastermind Volume 3 coming out in April 2025, which that has been recorded for 3 years and then
This
got edited 2 years ago, but as I've mentioned before, could not come out until Tortured Clandestine was out.
so finally, and I think this one has been like a highly anticipated release because I think people have been asking for this one.
Well, yeah, it's got quite the cast behind it. People who haven't actually recorded for us since then, and have and sadly some of them who've actually decided to retire voice acting, and in some cases their final roles are in this. So
Exactly.
it's a nice sort of thing where you actually haven't seen them in years play these roles, and they've come back almost like for one last hurrah, but yet they actually recorded it at the same time as all the others. It's a very odd scenario.
Precisely.
Um, and then we have, for May 2025, we have the third and final volume of the Northern Doctor Adventures, which is currently untitled. They've been written for 2 years as well, much like Mastermind, but just a little bit later.
Mhm.
They've been written since I want to say the middle of 2023. Um, and I took a little while writing my ones because I'm a busy man. But that's coming out in May 2023, obviously starring Nathan Carter as the Northern Doctor. This is set in the gap between series 3 and 4. So this is
Mhm.
after. Oh, I'm getting a phone call.
Oh,
Oh
goodness.
goodness gracious
Ju-
me! I was interrupted. How could you?
Oh
I'm
no.
talking about what's coming up, the most important segment, perhaps. But
Do,
nonetheless,
do you not
so
understand?
I know, how rude. But nonetheless, we've got Nathan Carter reprising the role of the Northern Doctor, followed up by someone new as the companion, just for this volume only, but set between volumes 3 and 4, series 3 and 4, I should say, of the main visual series that was made on NCC Pictures.
Yeah.
It closes out a lot of the stuff that Nathan always wants to close out with his Doctor. That's not to say that he's retiring. He just won't be making full Doctor-led volumes
Yeah.
anymore after this. At least that was the last thing I heard. You never know. You never
No,
know.
no,
But for now, this will be the final one.
exactly. And then following that will be a Torchwood solo volume.
Yes, yes,
World at War.
yes. This isn't following the Torchwood New Era range, which has been so far with the New Era range. It's been Torchwood Rebirth, Nexus, and then Clandestine. Torchwood Solo, we have only ever had one episode of, which came out as part of the Dwem's 60th celebrations and tie-in episodes, and
Mhm.
that is basically a story which is based around one person, really.
Yeah.
So we're going to be remaking this. World at War, if you remember, came out in 2021 as a one-off audio to do with Matt Vowles. This was
Mm.
after his death in Cravat Doctor. Um, yeah, it was Cravat Doctor Resurrection Volume 3 or Series 3, with Trial of Veritas. We're retelling the story. We wanted to expand it a bit more. There are some things that are that were in the original that don't have a place in the Prism continuity anymore because we were
Yeah.
trying to lean into keeping the continuity of the original universe we were a part of. We're going to expand on the story a lot more, learn more about each individual team member. I should also mention this is Torchwood during World War One. So it's back in time. It's classic Torchwood Institute. We're going to develop the characters a lot more. There might be some recasts here and there. You'll have to see when we get closer to the time. But I'm really excited about that. We're doing some very good stuff on it, and we're still writing bits here and there. But it's been really interesting to watch it develop.
Yeah.
And then finally,
We have.
in the summer of 2025, we have the first volume of the
Of
Frontier Doctor Adventures.
I'm very excited about this one because obviously Dom has been talking about the Frontier Doctor for some time. I think he showed us like a small plan he had for the Frontier Doctor, and it's so nice to see it's coming to fruition.
Yes, and we're continuing with the branding, which is New Frontiers. So this is volume one of that. We've done the prologue last summer, so that was August it came out. And then at some point in the summer, we will see the Frontier Doctor return to continue the story. And yeah, we're currently working on that in terms of the writing at the moment. It's really, genuinely, it's really exciting and it's really fresh, which is why I've had a lot of fun working on the Alacrity Doctor stuff as well. That's been coming out in November. Um, it's really fun to work with the new Doctor.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So yeah, and that is currently everything we've got lined up. That's everything I'm willing to talk about. Because just out of fear that we won't get it done on time, really.
There's
But
other bits and pieces you've got cooking in the background.
yeah, yeah, a lot of the ones that we've mentioned, we've had working in the background for years, and we know we can get done because they're fully recorded. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, it's looking really fun. It's looking really, really fun at the moment. So
I think
shall we
that's
shall we have a little look at what's coming up this month, just before we move on to those?
yes, exactly. What is coming up this month, my dear chatters?
It will be, well, the trailer's actually coming out tomorrow,
Ooh.
but we'll play it here anyway. It is the trailer for Torchwood Clandestine 2.
All right, yeah, play it now, please.
Overton Audios presents
There's a part of me that's really grown to love this mental team of ours. There's a part of me that hopes one day they'll allow me to stop before this goes to a point of no return. But maybe that day has already passed.
But she's actually quite pretty looking. Why would she say yes to you?
You're acting fucking weird.
I always act weird.
We're going to have a lot of fun, Tommy Benton.
It's the Cybermen.
You're welcome with us.
You're never going to take over Torchwood.
We're already dead.
Who was that?
The Queen. She's assigned us with a special task of locating 4 politicians who are absent from Parliament this morning.
Fraser! Fucking hell!
You have done excellently, my son.
Now what?
Before anything happens, I want to know why you did it.
All I have to say is I'm truly sorry for whatever happens next.
Torchwood Clandestine Part 2. Coming 14th of December 2024 at 12 p.m.
Wonderful. How simply divine.
And that was the trailer. Very good trailer indeed, I feel.
It is very good. I like what we've been doing with the trailers recently, where you're adding more visual stuff to it. Especially, it gives you a chance to see all the covers for the volume coming up.
Yes, yes. Although it has made people speculate a lot more, which has been also a little bit annoying.
Yeah, yeah. That's also true.
Yeah, it's just I wish it was easier to do things in 3D space
Mm.
because I'd actually want to do like sort of a bit more like taking the photos and animating. Well, you know this. I learned it in uni. So if I've learned it in uni, then you definitely know it, Dan, because you're like the master of this. Like bringing in backgrounds at different distances from the digital camera, so that when you pan in, it has a depth to it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of thing. It depends like what the audio is. It wouldn't be your usual trailer then. It had to be a specific bespoke trailer, I think.
I always think back to the ones that you did for Uncharted Pass Volume 2, where the camera would pan down and the cover would exist just in 3D space, and you'd pan in and they'd all be slightly moving with the perspective change.
Back when I had the patience to make them.
Yes. The patience and just generally the time.
That was like I was in my very early 20s. I had the time, but now I do not.
I'm 30 in 4 months.
Oh, sir.
I know. But speaking of time, I think we've run out of time, Daniel.
That was
that's our segue there. That's our segment. Our segue to leave. I don't think that's the first time I've ever done that. But this is the final podcast of 2024. Next month will be the beginning of 2025, where we'll be having other segments that we've pre-recorded, because January ones are typically seen as the starter volumes. Whereas I feel like we've actually prepared ourselves this time. We've got segments where we recorded some in September and in October in preparation for this January's vlog not having a lot, which is good. It's always good to forward plan, and that's exactly what we've done.
Precisely, sir.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, I mean, it's what a year 2024 has been. It has had its ups and downs, but I feel like, as you can agree, sir, improvements can be made going into 2025.
Indeed. And we've got to make sure that we're ready for our little 5-year anniversary. Who knows what we're going to do for it? I think it's a sort of irony that I think the 5-year anniversary podcast will also have Mastermind Volume 3 being talked about.
Yeah.
Which at that point will have just turned 3 years old in itself anyway.
Yeah, nearly as old as the podcast.
I know, right? So it'll be a joint celebration, a joint birthday party.
Precisely.
Indeed.
I think we show like season's greetings to all who are listening to this.
Oh yes, of course, season's greetings, indeed. We must not forget these things. And of course, thank you to our Patreons again, Anya Patton, Chelsea Lagan, and Delta Effects. Always thank you. Unless there's anything else you want to quickly mention, Daniel, I think that's it, isn't it?
I think that's it. Happy holidays, everyone, and we'll see you in the January podcast.
Indeed. Farewell, everyone.
Farewell. Bye-bye.